Caddyshack turned 40 years old this year, and yeah, if you're hearing this, I either went to the beach or I'm sick. I don't lie to you, come on. But let's talk about Caddyshack. Michael O'Keefe, who played Danny Noonan, and to this day, if I'm on a golf course or even a miniature golf course and you go to take a shot, I just go, Noonan, all the time. Michael O'Keefe said, the first memorable thing was Rodney Dangerfield. My father was a huge Rodney Dangerfield fan, so I'd seen him on TV a number of times growing up. We were just getting started, and Rodney's already in character. Well, he's always in character, but he's dressed and wearing wardrobe. At the time, I had irregular teeth. I've since had them fixed, so I smiled, and Rodney said, oh, kid, your teeth. You should let me set you up with my nephew. He's a dentist. So I thanked him for that, and then he said, Florida, eh? It's like a sauna with gnats. Rodney was hilarious. On his first day, he goes into the pro shop, and he's throwing around money, and he's got Wang with him, and he sees the hat. Well, he didn't really come in the entrance to the store. He came in from a receded wall that looked like he could be coming from a door, which just worked for the geography of the room. So he would stand behind there, and Harold said, action, and nothing happened. Action, nothing happened. Harold finally said, Rodney, and Rodney said, yeah. When I say action, that's when you come in. Oh, you want me to do the bit? Yeah, do the bit. So he came out and he did the bit. He was really that green in terms of what happens on a movie set, so watching him was hilarious. I'd known Chevy because of Lemmings, the National Lampoon show, which I saw when I was a senior in high school. I think he'd done Foul Play by then. And of course, I was familiar with SNL because we were all thoroughly enthralled by SNL back then. Bill Murray I was aware of because of the show, but he had only made Meatballs and had not come out yet. So the only way I knew Bill was that he was Chevy's replacement. Wow. What a small period of time there, right before Bill Murray really popped. Like, Bill Murray was like a superstar for a little while there. I mean, still a huge star, but for a little while when he had that run of movies, you know, Meatballs, Caddyshack. What's the one when they're in the army? I'm having a brain fart. I'm not going to bog down on that. You know what it is. You're yelling at your podcast right now. Bill Murray was just on a roll then. Ted Knight I knew because I was a huge Mary Tyler Moore fan, so he was always on my radar as well. The person I was most dazzled by and into when I got in the movie was Doug Kenny. I don't know if you have had a chance to catch the Netflix movie A Futile and Stupid Gesture. I don't know if it's the best movie I've ever seen, but they really got the zeitgeist right. And from my way of thinking, you could make a case for Doug Kenny to be as significant a figure in American comic film as Billy Wilder. Wow, he really was a genius, and I don't toss that word around. He was one of those guys that was so affable and charming and inspired really fierce loyalty and devotion and love of his friends. We had all fallen prey back in the 70s to that myth that in order to be a really creative person, you had to go out there on the drug ledge, if you know what I mean. We all got caught up in it one way or the other. Yahoo said, the shoot is notorious for the amount of drink and drugs that were consumed. How bad did it get? Well, since Doug and Harold are both dead, I can tell you they would come into our trailer at lunch and offer you cocaine. For a producer or a director to do that now would be such a red flag and a death knell. The first response would be, so obviously you don't ever want to work again. You can't make a movie without working your ass off. There's no way. And they just really wanted it to be good. I think part of Doug's dilemma and what led to his suicide was he didn't really like the final film because it wasn't the film he wanted to make. It had a lot of zaniness, but it didn't have a lot of heart. He wanted to tell an adult story. Bill Murray was only there for 8 or 9 days. We would all show up at 7 or 8 in the morning, and Harold and Doug would be like, where's Bill? And it would have been because he'd been out late partying and woke up in a trailer park 100 miles from the film location. They'd finally find him and bring him in and slap him together and get him out there, and it would work out. But he had worked his ass off at Second City and trained assiduously, and what they do appears so haphazard and crazy, but really there's a method to their madness, and we give them the right tools, they just take off, and that's what happened. Yahoo asked, Ted Knight was older than much of the cast. How did he respond? Well, the answer, Ted was no fan of the craziness. He was much more of a sturdy 9-to-5 professional. He just wanted to show up and do a good job, be let out early, and go have a good meal and enjoy the day. That sounds like me. The kind of the fly by the seat of your pants thing, personally, he was not very happy with, but you would never know to watch him in the movie because he's amazing in it. If there was tension, it was because Ted was having to restrain himself because he was not happy. There was no arguing. There were no moments where we struggled to figure out what we're going to do, but that was creative tension. Everybody wanted it to be good, and when everybody clicked, it clicked. This one's funny. So who's going harder, the young caddies or the older cast members? The answer, that's kind of like saying who got drunker at prom. Everybody got pretty drunk. I remember one time they did one of those making of shows 5 or 10 years later, and the interviewer asked if I remembered any crazy party from Caddyshack, and I said, are you asking me if there was one party on Caddyshack? We partied every day. They took over a motel that was on the golf course where we were all housed, and eventually that turned into a college dorm. We'd connecting rooms to people, so the party would start in somebody's room, and it would float to the room next door, and it would float to the bar for a while, then it would float back up to the rooms, out on the golf course. We'd pile in a car, head somewhere, Everybody would sort of stagger awake at 7 and pour gallons of coffee down their gullets and find their way on the set, which was across from the motel, so it wasn't that hard. And it went on and on and on. It never stopped, so much that the wrap party was a non-event because we were too exhausted. It was like going to a taco truck now. Cocaine was like, let's go to the taco truck for Taco Thursday. Who was the funniest on set? Chevy and I had the most to do together, and he did crack me up. When Bill Murray did the young golfer winning the Masters, it was as simple as Harold saying, you know when you're playing basketball and you start doing the commentary and it's the NBA championships and there's a minute left, and Bill said, say no more. He went right out there, turned on the camera, and he started doing the impression, young groundskeeper, Cinderella story, he's at the Masters, he's at the final hole. He just did it. I watched him do it, and I watched him do the Dalai Lama speech, and it was mind-blowing. Comedies have a kind of throw the spaghetti against the refrigerator, see what sticks aspect to them, and you never know if they're going to land or how they're going to land or if they're going to capture the zeitgeist. So my affection for the film more has to do with the place that it holds in people's hearts. Not so much that I think it's great, but I'm also not my biggest fan. I was doing things as an actor that nobody would really see except me, and things that I go, whoa, I really got away with that. But having said that, Caddyshack is the film that keeps giving. I get to do these little appearances every once in a while. People love the movie, and they want to talk about it, and that's what I'm really connected to. Noonan. That's your comedy news for today. Subscribe on Apple or Google. Follow on Spotify. Catch you tomorrow.